Welcome to today's topical highlight. I'm Marvin Mtavazi, and today we are going to be talking about labor externalization, or what many call labor exporting, outside working, whereby we see many Ugandans going abroad to work or look for greener pastures. With me, I have the government spokesperson, Mr. Ofwono Opondo, who is going to be telling us more. Before I go further, let me give him a chance to introduce himself. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Marvin. I'm glad to be talking to you on this otherwise delicate subject.
Yes.
But let's have a go.
Yeah. So, according to the statistics, a number of Ugandans get out of the country. At least more than 6,000 Ugandans every year, annually, get out of the country to go and work. Should we say that the government has failed to provide jobs for the people?
No. First of all, what's the situation globally? Globally, over between 20 and 40%, particularly of young people, even when they have good education, seek opportunities beyond their borders. That in itself wouldn't be a big problem. I don't know when you last checked the unemployment rate in Europe. I think last month there was a report. France is 40%. That's the average in Europe. America is about 27% of young people. Young people, we mean between 18 and 30. So it is youth unemployment is not specifically a phenomenon peculiar to Africa or Uganda for that matter. In Africa and in Uganda in particular, it is complicated by the fact that we have a little more youth bulge than elsewhere. Secondly, because we don't have skilled education. And thirdly, there is also a world narrative that among Africans and Ugandans in particular, that we want finished things. We don't think that we can build our own. And so many people, even who would have otherwise have opportunity here, in mistaken and guided belief that the world out is rosy, they leave home and seek life in unknown and charted waters. And so the problems become complicated. So the government hasn't failed. Why hasn't the government failed? The country is secure, the country is stable, the country is rising economically. We are still down, but we are certainly, there are many opportunities that can be tapped with good guidance, with good mindset. Majority of these people have opportunity. Why do I say they have opportunity? If you look at them, many of them spend between $5,000 and $15,000.
Absolutely.
Looking for application to apply to these companies, visa, air ticket, and modest stipend. With $5,000, with $10,000, somebody who is well guided can start an enterprise in Uganda with consistency, with discipline. In 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you will triple that investment. But many of our people, because of lack of guidance, don't want to take the hard road. Lack of guidance comes from the family, the primary responsibility of the family, from the education school system, and the community. And that's where the problem is.
Checking, we find out that most of the number of people who get out are youths. More so, we can take it that university students, after getting done with their universities, and they decide to go. More so on the side of the girl child, most of the ladies are the ones who normally go abroad to work. And checking on what they do these casual works. They work as housemaids, as carriers, and such. Then I heard you talking about the skills. Don't you think that such things, the government can bring out something concerning the skills, which will help the youth to come up with something after university than depending on the books?
No, before the skills, you need the right upbringing at home, in school, which together gives you a positive mental attitude, which these days we call the mindset. Why is it the universities, students or graduates who go? Are there no toilets in Uganda to wash?
They are there.
Are there no kiosks to work at? Are there no homes to work at? Are there no buses and taxis to drive and where somebody can earn a decent living? In Uganda, they are there. Let us look at the same youths who have chosen to remain here and are doing even half, using half the $5,000 I'm talking about, and have been consistent. They bother to learn. You have personal discipline in your enterprise. See where they are compared to the ones. I am saying that largely, majority of our people want it the easy way. Even the ones who remain here, try to give today's youth to run for you a shop, to run for you an enterprise. What do? They will try to spot the loopholes so that they can cheat you. And you will see the rate of turnover of manpower in Uganda is very high. Why? It is not because people are not being paid well. It is mainly because of the mindset. We want quick fix. And I think as a country, as a government, we really need to focus on mentorship, which will cause the required mindset change, to work patiently, to be personally disciplined.
So, talking about the disciplines.
But you had asked whether the government doesn't have
skilling projects.
The government in the last 3 or 4 years, the government has expanded skilling projects, funds for specifically youths and women. You know that in the last 5 years, the government of Uganda through the budget system has been running, in fact for the youths, has been running since 2012, the Youth Livelihood Fund, which has run into billions of shillings, millions of dollars, specifically targeting youths and youth-run enterprises. The Women Fund, which came on board, I think, 2015, also targeting specifically to fund, to give a low interest rate, revolving fund for women-run enterprises. What happens when people get the money? They don't apply the money for the things they claimed they were going to do at the time they were getting the money. So really, whichever money you give youths, whichever money you give women, whichever money you give whichever group, at the core, if there's no personal discipline, if there's no mindset change, even the people with skills will fail.
All right, so talking about that, let's talk about the numbers of people who go abroad, most of the ladies. At least according to the statistics provided in 2021, 28 Ugandans lost their lives abroad. Don't we have an embassy or place where people should run to? And what has the government done on such an occasion?
Well, first of all, let me just make it clear that the government of Uganda does not export a single person, has not exported a single person.
Yes.
But the world is such that today we call it a global village because of ICT communication, because of technology, because of liberalization, because of opening of the skies. Ugandans, like any other nationals, are free to search for better opportunities elsewhere. What is required is really guidance, and that guidance requires also legal framework. Let us look at in the last 6 years, the government of Uganda has actually signed undertakings and memorandum of understanding with countries of destination where these Ugandans, majority of these Ugandans, go to search for work, search for employment, search for livelihood. We have legal understanding and memorandum of understanding with Kuwait, yes, with Saudi Arabia, with Oman, with UAE. How come abuses are still reported? Abuses occur, in our view, because of 3 things. One, quite a number of these Ugandans leave Uganda without known procedures of to the government. Many of them are trafficked, either through Entebbe or through the many porous borders. Could be Kenya, could be Rwanda, could be South Sudan. I think half of Ugandans actually go to the Middle East via those routes, trafficked. They are not known in the database. And consequently, they hide away from their own family members. They hide away from the Uganda government system. They hide away from the government system in the countries where they are. It is only when they get horrendous problems, then they start crying out. You can go and check their tickets, their passports. You will find that many of them were illegal stayees in those countries. Illegal in the sense that perhaps they have overstayed their visa. Illegal in the sense that somebody obtained a visitor's visa, overstays it, start looking for work. Or even where somebody has got a work permit in Oman, when they don't find opportunity, they have networks and somebody else invites them to Saudi Arabia or to a third party country. In such circumstances, the system or the government system of Uganda and the government system of the country where they are now domiciled doesn't know them because they are not registered, they are not in the database. It is only at the tail end when somebody gets a problem, then they start crying out. But yes, also, there are internal weaknesses in our government system. Certainly, the government of Uganda does not have all the sufficient funds, even to trace Ugandans who are working in people's homes in Uganda. Do you have a database? Do you know what maids go through, even in the upper echelons of people of Uganda? For example, we have approximately 80 ministers in Uganda. We have about 30 permanent secretaries in Uganda. We have about 500 members of parliament. Is there an internal system that requires them that they register their domestic servants or even their personal servants, their drivers? We don't have yet that system, which we should be building. And because we don't have that system, abuse will be prevalent. It will be even worse where somebody is beyond the jurisdiction of Uganda, because the other countries also have their laws which govern. The other issue where abuses could be high is because of the difference in culture. Take in our case, these people who are looking for the jobs, how educated are they? How enlightened are they? How informed are they about cross-country culture? For example, in Uganda, if you listen to many of them who say, we have gone 1 week, we are meant to go 1 week without food. What is food for a typical Ugandan? Food for a typical Ugandan is matoke, is rice, is posho, and meat, muhogo, and so on. Now, if you go to Oman, you go to Saudi Arabia, you go to UAE, where people are eating chapati and soup, will a Ugandan call that food? What is our work culture and ethics? In Uganda, generally, we don't keep time. In Uganda, I want to come to my office with my phone. So if I'm told to keep my phone away for the 8 hours of work, I will say I am being tortured.
Yes, we are still with the government spokesperson, and we are talking about labor exploitation or labor people going abroad to work in different places. And we are taking the government side on this. How involved is the government? Is it legal or illegal? You talked about that some people are out there illegally. So does someone being in another country illegally stop him or her from being a Ugandan?
No, it doesn't stop you, but that means you would have surrendered some of your rights. If you are found in Uganda illegally, we can arrest you, dump you in a police cell, and refuse people to see you, for example. Because you would have broken. We say whoever goes to the temple of justice, could be administrative, could be judicial, go with a clean pair of hands. So make sure that you don't break the law of those countries. Don't stay in any country, don't go to any country illegally. So in that case, I blame the victim. The person who pays his $5,000 or half $5,000, $10,000 should be in a position to demand. If somebody is taking you out, a company is taking you out, demand for your rights. Preferably, reduce the rights the rights for your rights in writing, in a legal document. 2, the government of Uganda cannot have representation all over the world. For example, to the best of my knowledge, we have never had representation in the Republic of Malawi, near here. But there are Ugandans there. Yes. But they are there, majority of them are there legally. But also, they know, they are bothered to understand the culture in Malawi. But don't live here, you go to Arab world. Don't live, you go here and you go to Australia. Illegally, first of all, but also you don't bother. So for me, I first blame the people who travel in violation of other countries' laws. Where we have laws and we have undertakings, and the government of Uganda fails on its obligation to protect Ugandans, if they have already been known to be there lawfully, in that case I would blame Uganda. In the case where we have signed an agreement with Saudi Arabia, we have signed an agreement with Oman, we have signed an agreement with the UAE, and the worker has actually notified the Ministry of Labor here. We have them on the database. The worker has notified the company that took them, because it's now a requirement. If a company is taking somebody out, there's a requirement that they keep part of your money here. In case there are problems, we use part of this money to bring you back or to assist you. And this person has gone to UAE or to Saudi Arabia or to Oman, and again they have taken the bother to notify the country where they are, but also our embassy. Because at the very minimum, if I'm going to Saudi Arabia, I should ask the company taking me. I should ask the Minister of Foreign Affairs, what is the telephone number? What is the address of the Uganda embassy in Saudi Arabia, in UAE, in Oman? So that when I have, as soon as I land, or as soon as I settle, I can send a text message. I can send a WhatsApp message. I can send an email. I can make a telephone call and I say I am a Ugandan. I give my description. I give a description of where I am, my locality. In that case, if the government of Uganda does not bother to follow up, the fault would be on the government of Uganda. Similarly, if the government of UAE knows and I have notified them that I am here, and from my deductions, for example, my salary deduction, some is going to NSSF, some is going to pay as you earn, in which case it is entering the country's revenue, in which case they should be able to know and track the taxpayer. And then I call and I alert them that I'm being abused and they don't take action. In that case, I would blame the country where this worker is domiciled. But I think 80% of the blame is on two people: the worker and probably the person employing them, because usually they do things under the table without. Look at all the women you're talking about. And I think your organization should give you sufficient resources and you go. Many of these people, even their relatives here, don't know that they have traveled. For the case of the women, you will find that they are women, most of them single mothers, of children who have run away from school. They don't want the parents to know. If they are single mothers, some of them don't want their spouses to know that they have gone out. They want to go underground.
But again, when you talk about underground, it is the same companies the government one day licensed to take this abroad. Do you think there is something missing?
No,
it's the government.
That's what I said. In the case where somebody is being taken out by a registered company, first of all, the government has an obligation to thoroughly and effectively audit this company, particularly the list of the people they say they have taken out in a year, and demand of these companies to give accurate and credible returns of the people they have externalized, and periodically follow up after a quarter, after 4 months, ask the companies to give you a return, not just the numbers, but are they checking on the employees? I think there's internal weakness there.
Yes.
And internal weakness could come as a result of this is a new business in the country, so probably they have not developed accurate, effective template for follow-up. But also it is possible that the companies compromise government officials along the way. For example, if a company has externalized people and worth 500 million, which is roughly $150,000 in Uganda, and this company is a corrupt company, meets a corrupt government official, they tip the corrupt government official with $10,000. They may pay a blind eye to not following meticulously how these companies are doing their businesses. In that case, there should be a general government audit system to ensure that this government department is actually doing the things it's supposed to do. I'm afraid to say in many cases, they don't. And therefore, abuses, even of people who have gone out officially, will occur. But it will not occur to the extent of the people who are being abused on account that they went out illegally.
Yes.
And therefore, the real remedy is in Uganda. First of all, can Ugandans stay here? It is not possible to make every Ugandan get a job here.
Yes.
So we must encourage people, we shall encourage people to continue going out. But as you go out, do you know, do you understand all it requires to travel to different countries? We would want to implore, to ask Ugandans, before you travel out, try to find out as much as possible about the country of destination. What is the culture like? What is food like? What is language like? If you ask many of these people, they don't even have the basics of language.
So, as we conclude, we have seen NUP, National Unity Platform, bringing in people from those countries abroad, bringing them back to Uganda, and they're claiming that most of them have been suffering, have been stranded from there. Why has the government been so silent on that issue?
No, first of all, the government has been silent on not talking what it is doing. You can go and check the records with the Minister of Gender. In this particular round, the government has been bringing these Ugandans, I think, since 2018. When the outcries came, the government speeded its returning Ugandans since August. And UP, I really don't want to give them much. But I think they are playing Katemba. You can go and again audit if indeed they brought them back. They just went and found people who were ready, and they did posturing for the media, for the cameras. Where does NUP, have they told you, where does UNP get money to buy air tickets? You can go and check. Go and do, we used to do what we call investigative journalism. Go and check the air tickets of those people NUP claims brought them. Who bought the air tickets? You could as well find that those people actually bought their own air ticket. And the NUP people knew there are 8 Ugandans at Dubai. I'm also on my way. I posed for a photograph with them, and I say, I've brought you. But also, remember that many of these Ugandans, as you said, they are youth, they are carried away by the political weeds. Somebody wants to say, I am now a big political person. That one we are not so much bothered. What we are really bothered about, how did you go and how have you come back? Have you come back in good condition? That's what's important. If UNP has brought a few of them, thank you very much. But I doubt that's when you can go and audit from the air tickets, the airline companies. It will show who actually paid the money. At that point, you can then come back with your verified accounts and say, out of 100, UNP brought 20, or brought 3, or brought all the 100. Without that data, it is a superfluous argument. I think NUP is doing, they think they are doing cheap politics. Yes. That's the NUP. Have they gone to other people's homes to check how maids in Uganda here are treated? No.
So, talking about that, we have an embassy in those Arab countries. We have embassies there in those Arab countries. Who should account for the people who die or who are affected from there? Yet the embassy we have there can even not provide a report at the end of the day.
First of all, our embassies are not fully fledged embassies. They're actually consulates. I think it is in Saudi Arabia where we have an embassy. In Dubai we don't have. We have. So, with or without an embassy, Uganda government, the country called Uganda, does not have sufficient resources. So we cannot claim that we shall help every Ugandan who is in trouble. The best you can do, first of all, inform the embassy if you have an embassy there. But even if you don't have an embassy there, inform the Uganda government here. Because in the world there's something called UN. Under UN there's something called International Migration Organization, which falls under UN, even if Uganda did not have an embassy there. But the country Uganda is made aware that you are in that country and you get into trouble, whether torture, injured, you could just be injured, professional hazard. You are working in a factory and your hand got cut. You have not been tortured. Inform, first of all, the country where you are domiciled. Inform the government of Uganda. Even if the government of Uganda does not have an embassy there, there are international systems. There are bilateral systems. There are multilateral systems that will help you to get rescued, to be returned home, either alive or to repatriate your body, because there are international systems, even where Uganda does not have an embassy.
Another thing is, we see that the real places where people die from and Ugandans are tortured or affected from there negatively, they're the same place where Ugandans again go. Can the government put a ban on those travels?
No. Uganda cannot put a ban on the travel because Uganda's economy, we are running open borders, we are running open skies, we are running a liberalized private economy where we are leaving Ugandans to go and search for opportunities. It is not only in those countries where Ugandans are being mistreated. Ugandans are even mistreated here. What shall we do? I have just given you the media you cover, you report every other day domestic abuse. Shall we tell people not to go to other people's homes? Shall we tell Ugandans? We cannot even tell you, we can only caution, advise. If you are to go to South Sudan, take the following precaution. If you are going to go to DRC, take the following precaution. But we cannot block Ugandans from going to DRC because there is a war. No, we cannot, and we shall not.
All right. So, in a conclusive remark, sir, what to the youth?
The youth, there has never been a better time to live in Uganda than today. Have an eye to look for opportunities in Uganda. While Ugandan youths, educated and uneducated, are paying $10,000 to go to Middle East to look for opportunities, Indians are paying $50,000, $100,000 to come to Uganda because they are seeing opportunities. Chinese are paying $100,000 because they are seeing opportunity in Uganda. Eritreans are paying thousands of dollars because they are seeing opportunities in Uganda. Ethiopians, South Sudanese, don't you yourself see Ethiopians? Yes. Don't you see Eritreans? Don't you see Sudanese? Don't you see Congolese? How come Congolese, Ethiopians, Eritreans, Indians, Jordanians are seeing opportunities in Uganda, and Ugandan youths, and generally other Ugandans, are not seeing these opportunities? How come? It is orientation, is the mindset. Is the mindset. It is like today. Chinese are seeing opportunities in Karamoja. They are seeing opportunities in Yumbi. They are seeing opportunities deep in Ruwero, in Kapeka. They are seeing opportunities in Mbarara, in Mukono. A Ugandan's eye only stops on Kampala Road and the Winton, yes, and Parliament Avenue.
The spokesperson has said that there is no better time of living in Uganda than this. Thank you for watching. It was the topical highlight, and we are talking about labor externalization. I remain Marvin Miles. Thank you so much.